Hey guys, Mila Buckley, the Hangry Woman here, and today I wanted to talk to you about the worst side effects and symptoms I've had while living with diabetes. Before we get started, if you like videos like this, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I make videos about diabetes and living with diabetes. I myself have type 1.5 diabetes, which is also called latent autoimmune diabetes in adults. It's a slow progressing form of type 1 diabetes. I talk about it on my channel. I have videos about it. It's a very interesting way of living in the in-between, but I always like to share what I know and what I'm going through because I feel like other people are going through the same. And it helps me to talk about it, but it also helps me to know that there are other people out there dealing with diabetes. So let me know if you have been living with diabetes. Let me know in the comments how long you've been living with diabetes and what brought you to my channel. And again, if you like this type of video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Now let's get to it. Okay, I wanted to talk about this because I feel like we all go through a lot of just like turmoil with our bodies with diabetes. And I wanted people to know kind of what it's like and what those physical symptoms of diabetes are. People often say diabetes is an invisible illness and you can't see it. And most people don't know that, diabetes is there when you have it. But I tend to disagree. I think that diabetes is not an invisible illness. I think it is something that you can see from the sensors and technology that we wear on our bodies to the actual like physical symptoms that you can see over time. I think it's really important to acknowledge that we go through a lot, and I wanted people to know what they were. So I wanted to talk about symptoms overall, and then my symptoms when I have high blood sugars and my symptoms when I have low blood sugars. It just, I think, helps people know what to expect, but it's also really interesting. And I'm curious if your symptoms are the same. So when you watch this video, let me know down in the comments if you experience some of the same things. I'm just curious if I am the only one. I always think it's interesting to know if it's just you or if it's an everybody thing and nobody's talking about it. First up, one of my biggest symptoms was hair loss, and I'm actually not sure if this is from diabetes or PCOS, but I noticed over time that I was losing clumps and clumps of hair, and not in like the normal hair shedding pattern because like your hair does shed over time. I would like brush out my hair and end up with like a ball this size of my hair just like coming out. I started noticing like bald patches in my hair. I started noticing just like overall breakage and weakness of my hair. And that kind of started as my blood sugars were fluctuating a lot. A lot of people have, when I've mentioned this, have said that when your blood sugars stabilize, your hair loss seems to stabilize as well. I've found that to be true. Like once my blood sugars have started to get even and I don't have as many peaks and valleys between my blood sugar numbers, my hair started to fall out less. I started to have less breakage, and overall, I didn't notice it as much anymore. It still happens. I still have it, but I think it's interesting to kind of note that like that fluctuation helps rebalance everything. Another side effect or symptom that I had was extreme weight loss without trying, and this was before my treatment. So when I was first like noticing the signs and symptoms of diabetes and like thinking about going to the doctor to get everything checked out, I noticed that I was losing weight like rapidly and I wasn't trying at all. So I had lost like 40 pounds within like a 6-week period, which I was already, I'll put up a picture. I was already like kind of big. So it like, to me, I had like this like crazy weight gain. Then I had this crazy weight loss, and then I was like kind of happy. Like, sounds totally horrible, but I was happy because I was like, I've been trying to lose weight and it was really hard. And it was around the time I found out I had PCOS. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna have to deal with this as much anymore. And then, my doctor also took it as like, great job, you lost all this weight in this short amount of time. But looking back, like 6 weeks for that amount of weight loss is like not good. It's not right. And that should have signaled that something was wrong. On the flip side, I've also dealt with weight gain when I started insulin. So insulin does make you gain weight. It makes you hungrier. It kind of does like the opposite like it gets your body back in balance because you're missing the insulin that you need. And so your appetite does increase and you do gain weight on insulin. And so I had that kind of like opposite thing. Like I lost all this weight and then it kind of like didn't gain it all back, but like it slowly crept up for sure. And I just thought that that was interesting, like the ebbs and flows. And I'm kind of back in this weight loss period again because I've been taking Ozempic. I've been on it for about 8 months, I think 9 months at the end of this year. So I have a couple videos on the progression. I have 2 months, I have 6 months. I think I'm going to do a 9-month one if I happen to stay on it through the year, because I started it in November, I believe, like end of November. So if I end up staying on it for the 12 months, I'll do a 12-month video. But I'm back in that weight loss period again because Ozempic reduces your appetite. It slows the digestion of your food into your stomach, so you're not like getting super full, like, or you're getting super full quickly, which is in turn making you eat less. So there's just like a lot of ebbs and flows in like the weight arena. And I do feel, I feel a little bit upset, I think, when people bring it up, because it's like, that's just a part of the journey that I've had with diabetes, is that I've kind of been up and down. And so it, to me, doesn't matter what I weigh as long as my blood sugars are good and as long as I'm healthy. And like, if I could get rid of my double chin, that would be okay. You guys know that that is like one of my biggest, insecurities maybe. And like I lose weight and it doesn't go away and I'm like, what's happening? But I think that, you know, the stability matters to me more than the weight loss. But it's interesting that I've had kind of both ends of the spectrum. I've had the weight loss from not being treated and then the weight gain from being treated. And I think overall that's just kind of like interesting to know. And I wonder if it's happened to anybody else that way. Okay, nausea and stomach issues with taking some diabetes medications like Ozempic and metformin. I think those are like probably the thing that is like universal to everybody's experience, or most people's experience, is like once you start taking those medications initially on the onset, as your body's trying to get used to it, you get horrible nausea, you have like diarrhea, you feel like you have to throw up, like it's just awful and nasty. And eventually your blood sugars level out, you feel good, you feel fine, but just that moment in between is like awful. And it makes me like feel sick trying to talk about it even, because like it's just gross. The feeling is just horrific. It's awful. Okay, so highs and lows. The way that I feel when my blood sugar is high, I feel thirsty, I feel fatigued and lethargic, I feel extremely hungry, I feel like I cannot get enough water. And this is like when my blood sugar is like at the 180s. Like this isn't even like high blood sugar. It's like now that my blood sugars have leveled out and stabilized, the 180s, like, which is like the low end of a high, makes me feel that way. When I'm at the high end of a high, it's like, I feel like the symptoms are multiplied times 10, and it is just really hard to get out of that funk. And I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Like, when I was living with high blood sugar all the time, like once I figured out how it made me feel, I was like, it makes so much sense why I was so miserable, why I was tired all the time, why I felt like I could get like, you know, like 12 or 13 hours of sleep and then I would still be tired when I woke up. It made all the sense in the world. And when your blood sugar is on the high end, you do tend to feel it very physically, and it makes it hard to function. Lows are kind of similar. When I am dipping low, I almost like, I feel like it is like when you're on a roller coaster and you are going down and it's that stomach drop. So I get that stomach drop feeling. I get nauseous, I get dizzy, I get confused and disoriented, I get sweaty, like my whole body just like it's like I jumped into a river or something. I get so sweaty. I get clammy. I think I said I feel nauseous. It's like all of these like crazy feelings. And when I get shaky, that's one for me. Like I don't normally get shaky, but I can tell like as soon as I am starting to get low, my body just like, I get this like shaky feeling. And it makes me really nervous and anxious. Low symptoms are the worst. They feel really bad. They are scary. I tend to feel really tired after dealing with a low, just trying to get it up, and sometimes a little sick because you got to just like eat sugar to get your blood sugars back up, like especially if they dip down into like the 60s, 50s. And so having that feeling of like knowing that I'm going low and that nervousness and that anxiousness paired with the clamminess and the disorientation and the confusion, and then like having to like eat all this like sugary sweet stuff that like I love sweet stuff. I post about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. I make desserts all the time. But then having to just like stuff your face until you get to a point where your blood sugars level out after a low, that feeling is so gross. It's hard. And it's one of the feelings that like I wish that I didn't have, but I always wonder like, am I the only one? Do lows only make me feel like that, or do other people feel like that too when they have low blood sugars? Overall, though, I will say that finally being treated in the right way and taking the right medications for me and having the right amount of insulin in my body all has helped. And so I don't have as many of those symptoms as I used to. I don't have lows very often. So when I do, I think that's why they're really scary to me, because like I tend to like trend toward the higher side just because I'm afraid of lows. If I even notice that I'm approaching like 70, I'll eat something because I'm like, I don't want to even get there because I don't know, there's like some anxiousness that I have in my being that something's going to go wrong, or like, I don't like it. I'm definitely more conscious of my blood sugars now, and I'm also taking more care to ensure that I'm staying in range so that I don't have those symptoms and those side effects and those feelings, because I don't like the way that it feels. I hate it and I don't want to feel that way. And so it encourages me to make sure that my blood sugars do stay in range. And when I'm out of range, it encourages me to do whatever I have to do to get back in range so that I feel better. And so I think it's really important to recognize the signs and the symptoms of highs and lows, and just kind of like the overall symptoms that you have when you have diabetes, and just knowing your body more and understanding it so that you can treat it as well as you can, and you can feel as best as you can for as long as you can, knowing that there are going to be some high days, there are going to be some low days, there are going to be some days that feel absolutely perfect, but just knowing kind of like how it feels is really important. And I think it's encouraging to know that you can keep your blood sugars in range as much as you possibly can, and it'll make you feel better. But even if you have the highs and lows, you're aware of how it's going to make you feel, and you can kind of plan for that as well. So I think that part is really important. The planning part just makes a whole bunch of difference. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know down below if you feel the same way during highs and lows, or what your symptoms seem to be, you know, when you found out you were diagnosed with diabetes. I would love to hear that, and just hear if, you know, it's different for people or if it's the same for people. I always think that is a really interesting piece of feedback, and just getting everybody's pulse on it, I think is pretty cool. If you liked this video, please do be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I have tons of videos on my channel about diabetes, so you can watch and learn from them. I appreciate you guys watching so much, and thank you for being here. Thank you for being open about your diabetes journeys too. And that's it for this video. So I will see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye.